Sandy Says Read. Welcome to the channel. This afternoon we are going to do a booktube tag. This is the afternoon tea book tag, and it started over with the Incessant Bookworm. I'm having trouble talking today, you guys. I'm so sorry. I've got a headache. It's a thing. But I saw this tag with Jo Linsdell. My friend Jo Linsdell did this tag on her channel, and I thought, ooh, I would like to do that. I will tag those two or put a link to those two in the drop-down box below for you guys so you can check them out. And I will also put these prompts in the drop-down box below so that you don't have to watch this mess a second time. If you would like to do this tag, the prompts will be written below, typed below. They'll be below. I'm telling you guys, there's a headache. I mowed the lawn today in like 92-degree weather, and I don't think I should have done that because the headache is just, it's messing with me. Okay, so the afternoon tea book tag, I got kind of excited about it because it reminds me of my great-grandma. Yay, right? I drink hot tea like when I have a headache, or when I need something for a sore throat, right? That's my hot tea drinking experience. I'm an American, so I do that awful, horrible, weird thing where I drink iced tea, right? But my great-grandmother, she used to drink hot tea all the time. And when she was nearing, a very old age, about like 90, 92, I spent a week at her home caring for her, and I had the privilege of making her hot tea for her and serving her hot tea on her fancy china cups and saucers. And yeah, so this tag reminds me of my grandma. And I think that's cool. Okay, let's dive in and do this. Number one, the prompt is Finger Sandwiches, a book you savored every minute of. The Lord of the Rings trilogy. As an adult, I savored every minute of that. When I first purchased the Lord of the Rings trilogy back as a kid, when the when the book fair would come to school, and I purchased that with my allowance. And I didn't get into it as much or as deeply in like 9th grade or 8th grade, whenever that was, as I did as an adult. I enjoyed it, but not the way I enjoyed it as an adult. The way I savored it as an adult. Yet the Sword of Shannara, I've had to reread that this year. I wanted to reread that for my interview with Terry Brooks, and I wanted to have it like fresh in my mind. And it was wonderful to get to like seep myself in that world again, right? And savor every bit of it. So yeah. Number two is Scones, a book everyone should own. I'm gonna say Jane Eyre, and I brought for y'all to look at with a huge glare on it. There we go, my Knickerbocker Classics version of Jane Eyre. And it's really hard for me not to list Jane Eyre for like every single one of these prompts, right? Because y'all know I love this book. I love this story. I love Charlotte Bronte. But yeah, Jane Eyre is one I think everybody should own. When my first niece was being born, I bought a copy of Jane Eyre for her to have in her future library. Like, she wasn't even out of the womb yet, and I was making sure Jane Eyre was going to be in her life. I also think that everyone should have the Holy Bible. Everyone should have that book, because even if you're not like a faith-filled person, you're not a believer, there are passages in there that are just comforting. There are passages in there that will just bring, peace, if you're looking for something like that. So I think the Bible's an important one to have. I also think a book of mythology. There's the other end of the spectrum, right? But I think a book of mythology would be good, like Bulfinch's mythology, if you're a reader or a writer, because there's so much in our society and in our literature that calls back to mythology. It's just a good reference. Okay, number three is Biscuits, a book that can be finished in one sitting. Just recently here, I did a review of Slumber and Discord by Nicole Zoltak. That was a quick read. It could be done in one sitting, and would have been done in one sitting if I wasn't like reading part of it at a doctor visit, and then I don't know where else. Well, I took it with me to a couple different places, right? But it was a quick read. Oh yeah, and May Your Heart Be Light. That's a book I wrote. It's a Christmas story, and it's a quick read. It's a quick paced read. It's kind of weird though. It is what it is. You can look it up. Okay, number 4, Patisserie, a book that is light and easy to read. I realized as I was looking at this one, getting ready for this video, that I don't have a whole lot of books that are light and easy to read. I read a lot of fantasy and epic fantasy, especially sword and sorcery. Even young adult fantasy that I read isn't really light and fluffy. I don't read a lot of light and fluffy books. But Damsel in Social Distance by Cassandra Morgan, that one, while not completely light, it was easy to read. It was quick paced and flowed easily. That one was quick and easy to read. So I wrote that one down, and I did a review of that one here. And if I think of it, I will link that in the drop down box for you below. Number 5, Showstopper, a book that blew you away. Oh, you guys, there are so many that I could list here. So many. Jane Eyre. But The Genesis Code by John Case. We just did a review of that here on the channel. The Genesis Code, the ending of it especially, that's what blew me away. The book was good. It was a good thriller, good plot, but the ending just nailed it. The Hobbit blew me away. I mean, I read that when I was younger, much younger, right? And then I wanted to write fantasy. It blew me away. Interview with a Vampire. That one blew me away when Louis gives his name to the interviewer. Anne Rice she knocked me flat with that. I was so taken aback when his name dropped. I mean, I remember the first time I read it and going, yeah, that blew me away. Wizard's First Rule by Terry Goodkind. That's the first book in his Sword of Truth series, right? And it's an awesome book. It's very well done, well written. I enjoyed it. It was awesome and great. But when Richard uses that first rule, in the climax of the book, when he uses that first rule, it's like, oh my God. So that blew me away. I don't want to give it away. I don't want to spoil it for you if you haven't read it. Which I can't imagine. It's just so good. I recommend it. Okay, final prompt, number 6, is Tea, a heartwarming classic. And Jo mentioned, she was having trouble finding, what's a heartwarming classic. And I got to thinking about it, and an awful lot of the classics, the old classics, they kind of rip your heart out, right? I mean, they cut your heart up and feed it to you, right? I mean, they're not heartwarming. They're difficult. I mean, War and Peace, right? These things they're difficult. So I've had a difficulty finding heartwarming classics that I've read or that I would recommend or I would put down here. But Jane Eyre, but also Pride and Prejudice, right? It has a heartwarming ending. It has a lead up to something lovely, right? But A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, that one is definitely heartwarming. It ends on a fabulous heartwarming note. And that's it for the afternoon tea book tag. Wonderful. Yay. Thank you for joining me for tea. You guys, thumbs up, because afternoon tea reminds us of Grandma. And please click the bell notification icon so that you're notified each time I do these random things. Thanks for tuning in.